Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Lethabo, aka the brightest star. And I guess things look a bit different today and for the foreseeable future because from YPO, we're now doing late nights with Lethabo. And honestly, it's been a long time coming. You've been asking, I've been teasing it, I've been edging you guys and telling you that it's coming soon and it's finally here. You know, when I think about the conceptualization of this show, I think about how last time it was more about me simply monologuing at you about a few of my problems, but now I want us to have real conversations. And I mean, let's start with what's happening currently. Every single week, I feel like we as South Africans are expected to wear many different hats. This week, a lot of us were political activists. A long time ago, we were relationship experts and relationship therapists. I mean, we were getting down to the bottom of a cheating scandal involving an elephant and certain pills. And, you know, I think it's exhausting, it's overwhelming because we don't know how to center ourselves. We don't know how and where to apply our minds and our mouths. So I want to start. What do you think is the biggest scam in South Africa right now? Personally, I think it's the cost of living. On my TikTok the other day, we were talking about how it really takes 10 years of experience to be qualified for an entry-level job. How we're in this weird phase in our adulthood where sometimes omitting your qualifications can actually be beneficial, but sometimes you need to overcompensate so you can earn a quarter of what your mother would have made with just a matric certificate. And I think that's insane. That's why when people say, I don't think the youth is working hard enough, I disagree. I see the youth showing up in every capacity. Every single young person that I know is applying daily. They're pursuing their creative efforts. They are putting themselves out there. They are shamelessly entering competitions for cars. I can't think of a generation more eager to work. They just need the opportunity to do exactly that. You know, and with this show, I think moving forward, we're going to have different segments addressing different things. And they're going to range from the economy to politics and very simple and light things like dating because we need a balance. You know, and one thing that I want to start with in this first segment is whether or not I believe that young South Africans are falling behind or being left behind. I think this ties in perfectly with the conversations about the boy child being left behind because the major thing with that is that you can't bully someone into literacy, you can't bully someone into catching up. The main disconnect exists because a lot of young people do not see the actual reward of not being behind. I mean, when you really think about it, the main pursuit of education was to better your chances of participating in the economy. But now, is that really what it takes to make it? I don't think so. I mean, young people are seeing their parents, their older siblings, their cousins, they read the statistics, and there's so many graduates sitting at home with nothing to do. So what's the point of them learning how to comprehend information better or having a desire to further their studies if there's no material gain? And also, let's not forget that South Africa has a huge numbing problem. I mean, when you think about what the MEC of Education had to say about our education rates across the board, children aged between 7 and 17 are attending school in high numbers. The problem is finishing. So when we say people are being left behind, we're talking about them actually completing and making it to the finish line. It's not them being left behind from the beginning, it's more about the ending. And we all know that this leads to high incarceration rates, joining gangs, substance abuse, and the list is quite literally endless. But why? Have you ever interrogated that? I mean, when you're expected to live amongst people who are criminals and sometimes sex workers, you are given the illusion that you are falling behind. But it's important for you to ground your expectations in actual reality because you're more likely to relate to people who are victims of the economy than people who are flashing their lifestyles on the internet. And it's not to say that everyone flashing their lifestyle on the internet is a criminal or is not working hard for it. It's just to say that is not indicative of the average South African reality, right? We get that, we get that. And what do you think as the audience? Do you think that it's fair for you to, measure yourself against everyone else? Or is it better for you to ground your expectations in your lived reality?
Is it fair? It's not fair.
It's not. It's not. But who is it not fair to? Other people or yourself? I think yourself. Something that I used to worry about a lot is that, oh my gosh, am I going to really reach the point in life where I achieve all my goals? And then I had to sit myself down and say, you're literally 21. What are these goals? Why do you want to own a Lamborghini at 21? Why do you want to live in Camps Bay at 21? Who set these expectations and who convinced you that this is the ultimate measure of having a successful life? I think we also need to redefine what success means to us, because we can't really define it without what other people have. Because for me, I think if I own a 3-bedroom house with a Suzuki Swift, I think I'll be fine. But everyone might see that as me being lazy or not ambitious enough. But it's just to say that if I feel like my needs have been met internally, then I'll be good. I'll be so good. But enough of that. Let's move to the next section, which is probably my favorite, because I think this is one of my favorite topics ever, and we've been talking about it for months on my TikTok. As a matter of fact, the other day, a creator made a very similar video to something I said in March, and I understand that you guys were trying to defend my honor, but you did not need to accuse this poor American man of stealing. Because he didn't steal anything. As a matter of fact, him and I are mutuals. And before he published his video, we had a little text message exchange, and he discussed how he was inspired by my work and if I'm comfortable with him making this content, because we didn't reach the same conclusions. I think you've already seen my video where I said AI is the new religion, because why? It's given people a God that talks back. Right? And when I first published that, it was very scary because I didn't know how it would be received. But it's now my biggest video of all time, my most liked, my most watched of all time. And this happened in 2026. I mean, 2 years later, you'd think I'd be washed. You think I'd be washed, but I'm still going. And the reason why I said this is because AI has kind of like created an over-reliance on a system that gives you answers, right? I think the main thing with religion is that people want to feel like someone is ordering their steps. But now AI is doing that. People can't engage in conversations with their friends without consulting AI. Hey, Grok, my friend and I are having a disagreement. I don't really know how I feel. Please give me advice. Decode her message. Hey, Grok, do you think that if someone is threatening to sue me over very rude comments that I made under their post that are very bigoted, do you think it's worth being scared? Should I apologize? And we all know, unless you specifically train it, it will mindlessly agree with you. And the problem is, a lot of people do not want to bear the weight of freedom, because with freedom comes the responsibility of making the right choices. And when religion dictates everything that you do, you can just say, I had a vision from God. This higher power told me. But now people are getting told by ChatGPT what to do and what not to do. And who's to say that they're truly responsible for their actions? I mean, we just watched a man literally commit a murder because he said ChatGPT advised him that that was the only way to resolve the conflict. And that's very odd, because a normal person would say, I wouldn't listen to a software tell me what to do, but people are in active psychosis. It also doesn't help that we're living through one of the scariest loneliness epidemics because we're so connected to each other, but there's nothing to really connect over. Think about how social media itself has kind of spoiled the surprising aspect of your relationships. I mean, sometimes, you're excited to share information with just your friend and you catch up over lunch. But now, people find out on my Instagram that this week I graduated, bought a new phone, bought a new car, got engaged. So it's now making it seem as though we have nothing in common, but social media has taken that excitement, the intimacy, and the fact that people get to earn, the right to know things about you. It's also why I feel like this also feeds into surveillance culture, where I said, I think when it comes to vlogging and things like that, we are becoming the police. We're so critical of each other because we know way too much about each other. I spoke about how, back in the day, I would just wear comfortable shorts, go to the store. But if I have to vlog it, I constantly have to manipulate my image to present myself in the best way because I will be judged. Right? But what does that say about us? Why can't we just let people exist in their natural state? Because no one is getting dolled up to go to the garage to buy milk. No one has to be dolled up to simply record 2 minutes of their thoughts over video. No one. But we've become the police to the point where I can't even make an error in my speech without being villainized. We are the surveillance state. Forget about whether or not the government is monitoring you. I am monitoring you. You are monitoring me. How sad, audience. Sad. So sad. So sad. I mean, even with the concept of the show, right? I think about how we have kind of become the product, in the sense that back in the day, if I felt like I was smart and enjoyed engaging in conversation, I'd join a club. I'd join a club, I'd join a book club, I'd join the debating society. But now I have to monetize it and make a living out of it. It's entertainment for people. And that's also a side effect of capitalism. There is nothing that cannot be monetized that won't be monetized. That's sad. Really sad, audience. Really sad. And it doesn't help that all of this also affects dating. Dating. Mcholo. If you know me, I'm anti-mcholo chats. I think they are so... I don't know. Even unpacking it right now, I feel like I just lost brain cells saying dating, because we all come to the same boring conclusions, and it's very cyclical. Every single week, someone brings a new angle to the same angle to discuss something that was discussed 3 weeks ago. The main thing that people refuse to accept about the current, dating landscape is the fact that our economy is ruining everything for us, The main issue is that, and I think I've compared this to people who are more privileged, who seem like they have a better time dating. I'm like, a lot of you forget that when it comes to this particular generation of Black people, you don't just date from a place of desire because you need to think of yourself first. I'm like, it would be really reckless for someone who is the first person in their family to have a matric certificate, the first person to have a degree, to also blindly start living with someone else and splitting bills. You lack the financial literacy to back yourself up. Why the hell would you want to do it with someone else? It's the fact that people have been rendered powerless by capitalism, that the only way that they can replicate the same power dynamics is in their most intimate relationships. People don't feel like they have a hold or domination over anything, so what do? I will dominate my partner. And this goes both ways. I think about how capitalism has manufactured a lot of consent for us. We're okay with a lot of things because we have to. And a lot of the time, people want to buy consent from people, their friends, their partners. I've even linked it to our rape crisis where I was like, it's quite interesting to me that at the core of it, we all know what consent is, right? If you say you don't understand it, you don't know it in Big 2026, you're pretending, you're acting, and if you're acting and I was your after lecturer, I'd give you 0, right? But the thing is, people go to these clubs and then buy these drinks for these women and say, well, if I bought her Hennessy, technically she consented. No, my baby, you thought you bought the consent. The same way capitalism is constantly manufacturing consent for you. That's not how life works. It's the fact that a lot of people are not okay with the fact that dating is meant to be data. You know, dating is data, dating is experience. You learn things about yourself and you learn things about others. The point is to be uncomfortable. But what do you guys do? You go on a date and you think that you're supposed to get something out of it. If I swiped 60 Rand for that ice cream, I must get something out of it. If I took 3 hours out of my day to go have a conversation with a man who I thought was kind of ugly from his Hinge profile, I must get something out of it. Babe, no. Dating is very easy. It's very fun. You guys just make it overly difficult. And also, I'm gonna be real, it's okay to go home. You know, like, it's always okay to leave. You don't need to stay in this endless loop of suffering because you think it's noble. So many people are so scared of throwing away really terrible relationships because they think the 3 years need to mean something. They don't. He didn't take anything away from you. She didn't take anything away from you. You belong to yourself. Relax. Relax. And again, you need to learn, and this is for the girlies, you need to learn to be unpunishable women. There's no such thing as you being rotten for catching another body, especially when that body was mid anyway. It's okay. It's okay. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We are not in the 1950s. You're the first woman in your bloodline to be able to cuss out a man and talk about it on Twitter. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't be weird. Don't. But let's have a no. Let's have a no. Let's have no. I don't want to hear it. Like at ease, my queen. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. And you shouldn't want to hear it from yourself either. Ugh. But yeah, that's the first segment from the show, which was honestly just very fun. You know, I think the main difference, and this is for the audience, the main difference is that I think with the older show and this one, like, I love this table. Like, I need to put that out there. I absolutely adore this table. I love moving my hands, and I love not having a mic in front of me because I think that I always lived in fear of bumping it because of my gestures. So this is great. Like, I'm having a great time. Like, I need everyone to know I'm having the time of my life. I've been waiting for this for like a year now, which is odd because sometimes on my TikTok, I guess, some weirdos will be like, oh, I think this is an important message, but your gestures are distracting me. Now I have to block you. Now I have to block you because, uzenza on ngami. Like, now I have to block you. Ish, when you could have just moved on. Like, ish, terrible stuff. But like, you know. So guys, this is the main interview portion of the show, and this is gonna be like the main and most important part of it. And in future, obviously, there will be guests who will be joining us to discuss this with me, because I think it is kind of cringy to talk to yourself for a little bit, you know, for like an hour, 30 minutes. Yeah, like last year, there was this encouragement of me to like do a lot of solo work, But I don't know, it made me feel insane. Like, I think I'd shoot one episode and then I need to spend 5 hours surrounded by people, so I don't end up like those TikTokers that are like accusing people of spiking their drinks when they didn't. I don't want to lose my mind. And I think this question ties in so perfectly with Invest in Yourselves Academy's overall mission, and this is a question about whether or not young people are lazy. So obviously right at the beginning, I said that I feel like we're the hardest working generation. We're also the most visible. I just think that we're just not represented accurately. I think that's the angle I want to take this. I think we're not represented accurately. So last week I did an interview with Politically Aware, and it will be out probably next week. And one of the questions I was asked was whether or not I feel like young people are making politically informed choices when they go to the polls. Like, do I feel like young people know who and what they're voting for and how that shapes, the overall outcomes of their ability to be, living citizens in this country? And it's a yes or no. I think when it comes to the young people, social media has kind of like created an over-reliance on other people's knowledge and other people's opinions and what other people have to say about the state of the country. I don't think it's necessarily young people wanting to be spoon-fed, but people have positioned themselves as authority figures. I think 2 years ago, we watched as a lot of influencers accepted very pathetic amounts of money to kind of like mislead their very impressionable audiences on who to vote for. There was a lot of emotional manipulation, telling people, vote for Madiba's Yellow Party. If you don't vote for Madiba's Yellow Party, you're ultimately betraying Mandela. Mandela would not like the current state of the ANC, BT dubs, but it was one of the first signs where I realized that shame. The people that our generation put their faith and hope into, saying that I come to Lethabo's page, I come to this person's page because I trust them well enough to summarize current affairs, but also help me to seek out more information. These people are tricking me. And obviously, these people who are tricking you are being sponsored by who? Your government, number one. Number two, a lot of young people are fed a lot of fear when it comes to their direction and choices in study. I think one of the saddest parts about being young and black in South Africa is that your curiosity is never enough and education is never from a point of pleasure. I think about that boy in January who was celebrating getting 11 distinctions and going to Harvard, and him saying he wants to study drama or law, and how everyone was just so bitter and angry in the comments. And obviously their anger is misdirected because all of them said, if I had those grades, I'd be doing engineering, I'd be doing medicine. But here's the thing, you're saying that because you need to be the person to save your family. So a lot of young people cannot engage in anything pleasurable from an education point of view, from a work point of view, because from the age of 10, you've been opening up with this mindset that I'm supposed to be the one who builds a toilet inside this house. I'm going to be the reason why people stop going outside to relieve themselves. You haven't been able to make choices from a point of, I want to do this. So that already is why young people are so miserable and why it's so hard for young people to enjoy what they study. Like, never mind the fact that when you do finally get to university, everyone acts like it's just about your willingness to do the work and therefore you will be successful. That's not true. You get to university and you realize that other people have access to tutors. You don't. You are writing an exam while rationing meals because your NSFAS allowance didn't come through. You are trying to get into these learnerships, these internships. You are trying to work with these law firms with a 76 when you could have gotten an 80 if you had food in your stomach. So it's like, do we really take into consideration the fact that poverty disrupts your ability to show up as your best self? It's also the fact that so many young people are also expected to accept so many unpaid gigs. I think about the podcast situation with that rapper. Is he a rapper? Audience, is he a rapper?
He's a rapper.
Is he a hip hop DJ? We don't know. He just says nigga, nigga, nigga a lot. So, something, right? Something. And he is living with this assumption that people wanting to work with him and being compensated is them being entitled. I'm like, you see, that's the thing. If you want a young person to be a co-host of your platform, you want him to be in your podcast, blah, 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 blah. How are they getting there? How much does it cost to travel, especially if you're shooting multiple times a week? How much does it cost to get from their home to your podcast studio? What are they eating? And also, we know how you guys are. You are not going to accept someone wearing the same outfit. So they regularly have to have different new clothes, and they need to not just be clothes. They need to be trendy, beautiful, stylish, or else you guys are going to call them poor, or this, or that. I mean, God forbid I came to the set with a shirt from Uzi and skinny jeans from Uzi. You guys would be so mad. Like, you'd be so mad. You'd be talking about it for 5 weeks. You'd ignore anything you hear in the clip. It would be, do you guys remember that time Lethabo was wearing slides with no socks and jeans from Uzi for 5 years, right? And then this young person is supposed to be vibrant and so informed and so happy to discuss your hip hop. But you haven't paid them and they're starving. How am I going to give you a good show if I'm hungry? How am I going to give you a good show if I'm hungry? You expect young people to do everything and anything with no compensation. Just the other day, someone emailed me and asked me to help me promote their new show on Netflix. In exchange, I get to go to an event and do what? Eat popcorn? I can buy that for 10 Rand. Okay, audience, like those like microwave popcorns with the candy. Guys, less than 100 Rand. Go shop right. But I must get dressed to come to your event where I'm going to get free popcorn in exchange for me making what? 8 videos promoting your movie. Isn't that nice? Do you see what I'm saying? So are young people really lazy, or are you guys just not willing to compensate them fairly? I mean, even with the internships, I worked at an internship where I was getting paid $5K for my degree. And when they extended by $100. So if I got a promotion, I'd earn 5.1. I don't even qualify to be taxed. But again, I'm working from 7 until 5 for 5.1, audience. And people are going to tell me that the youth is just lazy. Well, I resigned because it's the same as being unemployed, really, because it costs so much money to go from Joburg to Pretoria every day. And then I have to be fed, and I have to smile with my evil co-workers with really bad attitudes for 5.1. I mean, my co-worker had a master's degree, and she was making 5.1 with me. And I just had an undergrad. Do you see what I'm saying? And she quit her job because it cost her so much money to get to work on a daily basis. But again, the youth is lazy. The youth is lazy, right? And who's saying the youth is lazy? People who can't spell their own name sitting in parliament, right? Can't spell their own name sitting in parliament. Right now, your xenophobic leaders don't know what GDP means. They got in front of the camera and said, do you know South Africa's GDP? We can give every citizen 1 million rand. GDP as an ATM, okay? GDP is not an e-wallet. It's not, what's that thing, money market? That's not how GDP, you see what I'm saying? A politician with a seat in parliament is telling us that GDP is like an ATM where we withdraw money for every citizen. Do you see what we're going against, guys? But again, the youth with degrees in finance, so lazy, you know? Where the youth can't shower because Gauteng is on its 178th water outage of the week. And then Mr. Panyaza gets on the news and says, well, I'm so tired of people complaining that they can't go to work because they haven't showered. Imagine me. I am a politician. I had to book a stay at the Houghton Hotel just to take a shower. Oh my God, guys. I have 4K a night to just shower. I'm also in the same boat as you. Why are you not? Do you see what I'm saying? The youth will die of dehydration because your politicians think that you, someone living in White City, should spend 4K going to the Houghton Hotel to take a shower, where you're probably making 3.5, like me. Right, right, right. So do we still think that the youth is lazy? I don't think so. And the next person who tells me that the youth is lazy, please apply for an internship. Please apply for an internship where they're going to ask you for 8 years of experience for 5.1. For 5.1. You know, I know the episode already has a title, but it would low-key bang if it was 5.1. Like, that, like, I feel like that's like the reoccurring. I'm gonna think about that for the rest of the day. 5.1. Yeah, so like, you know, I just don't think that's true. I mean, I'm just lucky that I have a parent who is understanding of the current state of our country, right? Where she's like, hey, I've seen your academic record, I've seen what you can do, I've seen how you apply yourself, and I'm privileged enough that I don't need to save my family, right? And it's also why when it comes to conversations of black tax, I can't necessarily say if it's right or wrong, because A, not every single person who is expecting something from their kids is simply basing that expectation off of something that they didn't support. Like, I understand that there are a lot of families that didn't actually aid, you know, the development of their children, but let's be real. A lot of your moms are making so many sacrifices. Like, I think about that old lady who didn't have money to cover the difference between what NSFAS pays for your accommodation and what you have to pay. And she showed up with a sack of avocados as payments. And it's so sad, right? It's like, a lot of people might think it's funny, but it's like, if you're willing to sacrifice so much for your child, you will literally do anything to exchange. You will literally do anything to the point where you might even sell yourself. So I get it. I'm just lucky that it's not me, but I think about everyone else who is in that situation, because if you were supposed to save your family, you're probably starving with them as we stand, and now you're starving with a degree. Yeah. So, audience, that's something to think about. You know, you're like, that's something to think about. 5.1. And to you who is willing to pay someone in that situation 5.1, you will begin to cough in 3 days. 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks from now, you're gonna have a stroke. I said it. I said it. 3 weeks from now, I see you. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm speaking it into existence. Now, audience, we've reached the section where I ask you questions, right? The first one is, if you could cancel one thing forever between job interviews, voice notes longer than 3 minutes, situationships, petrol prices, and group projects, which one would you cancel?
Petrol.
Petrol? Petrol? Really? Okay, I can't say group projects because this is a group project and it's eating. And it's eating. Well, I'll tell you for free, I will be canceling job interviews. I will be canceling job interviews. Why do you want this job? I want money. What do you like about our company? I like the fact that you guys are going to pay me. What do you hope to gain from working with us? A salary and medical aid and UIF and funeral cover. That's what I hope to gain from working with you guys. So I'd cancel job interviews because I wish, you know what, we also should have written CVs. Because again, I want to send a company email, hey, I need to work. Give me a job. That's it, you know? And like, yeah, you know? So yeah, we've come to the end of the first episode. So fun, so exciting. I loved it. And, you know, the first episode was just an introduction. It was more about leaving you with more questions, helping you reconsider things that you might just believe because you have weird feelings about young people, but also the guilt that you carry about whether or not you're working hard enough or not. And yeah, I can't wait for the next one. Hopefully we'll have our first guest, and hopefully it will be someone who now exists as lost media. This person and I, we did something for you guys, and now it sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds like Madison Beer being in the Thank You Next music video. It's like it never happened, you know? Yeah. And I feel like I have to tell people that it happened. But anyway, this is Late Night with Lethabo, aka the brightest star.